good afternoon. See, this conference is about law reforms. But after going through the names of speakers and topics, I consider the main concern of the organizers has been gender bias and discrimination being faced by men in the courts. Law reforms is a very wider subject, and it has been attracting attention of the nation legislatures since long. But have you ever thought why law reforms do not take place in India despite legislature passing laws? The manner in which our courts function remains the same. See, prior to 1970s, there was a very hot debate in this country about our slow judicial system and about the archaic laws which were continuing from the days of when we were slaves. Our CPC was of 1878. CRPC was of also almost same year. So after hot debates, the CRPC, that is Code of Criminal Procedure, which governs the trials of criminal cases, was amended in 1971. And CPC, that is Code of Civil Procedure, which was, again, it is a charter of trial of civil cases and other cases other than criminal cases, was amended in 1976. The purpose of amendment of these two laws was to simplify and to quicken the disposal of cases. Simplify the procedure and quicken the disposal of cases. Unfortunately, none of the two goals were achieved. Why they were not achieved? You can have a simple, example of the same in this conference here. This conference was to start at 2. Now, what is the time at now? 3. You see, if a conference which has to last, which is life period is only 4 hours, 2 to 6, is delayed by 25%, and it is not considered something abnormal by any one of you, because you also came trickling. Instead of coming at 2, you came right up to 3. And the organizers also thought 2 is not something serious, so we can have it at our own time. So 25% delay in 4-hour conference. Now you think of if delay of judicial reforms in a nation's life which is infinity, how many years it would be? 100 years. So if I take this small example that why we are not serious, this gives you, and a very rudimentary example, but this gives you that we are not serious about anything which we want to do. If we had to be serious, we must stick to the norms which we prescribe for others. But when we prescribe and forget, the reforms don't take place. This is what is happening in our judicial system. See, after all, judicial system is run by whom? By people like you and me, who think it is okay, sab chalta hai. And in 1976 and again in 2001, CPC was amended in 76 to say that no adjournment shall be given by any court on the ground of busyness of advocate. You will hardly find a case in which adjournment is not given on the ground of busyness of the advocate. I was wondering other day when I read a newspaper report that bench of Justice Kehar and two more judges called case after case and advocates were not there before the bench. The bench, you see, stood up, Justice Kehar stood up in anger and huff and told the court master that call me when advocates are there. Now, what message it gives? This message, which is simple message given, is that court is not run by judges. Who runs the courts? Advocates. Judges are so helpless, they are so helpless that they cannot run a court, they cannot decide a case unless they are educated by the advocates. Why so? See, the maxim goes that every citizen knows law. If you pretend ignorance of law, that I was not knowing that this was the law, so I committed wrong, this is no excuse. But why ignorance of law is an excuse for judges? If advocates are not appearing, you see, advocates are there to help you, to educate you and to tell you about the case of the client and about the applicable law. At least in High Court and Supreme Court, the facts have already been, you see, enumerated. They have been settled by the trial court. And High Court and Supreme Court are, at Supreme Court level at least, I say, they are only concerned with the question of law. In High Court, in first appeal, you can, you see, assail the facts, decision on facts. In second appeal, you can't do that also. And it is only pure question of law. In Supreme Court, they are mostly questions of law. What Article 142 says? It says that law laid down by Supreme Court shall be applicable throughout the country. Why? Because it is presumed that Supreme Court lays down the law. So if you see Supreme Court judges, to my knowledge, reach there after 30 to 35 year experience, either as advocate or as High Court judges. After 35-year experience of practicing and propagating law, if they are so helpless that they cannot proceed in a case unless advocate is there, then God save this country. And that is what is happening in our judicial reforms. Law provides that not more than 3 adjournments shall be given in a case throughout the life of the case to one party. So maximum adjournments in any case can be 6, 3 by one party, 3 by other party. There will not be any case in which minimum number of adjournments had not been 6. I'm not talking of maximum. So this is how, you see, law proceeds. So when we talk of law reforms, what we have to reform? You see, you make the legislature can only pass law. And it is to be implemented by who? By judges, by advocates. And the manner in which it is being implemented shows that we are not serious about law reforms. We do not want laws to be reformed because we have vested interest. Now coming to the problem being faced by the organizations which have, you see, organized this conference about gender bias. See, gender bias is a very common thing. Some people are inclined to one person, either women, others are inclined to men. It will be very rare that you will find a judge without bias. If you go to court, you will find that judges are branded, he is pro-tenant, he is pro-landlord, he is pro-labor, he is pro-industry, he is pro-business, he is anti-business, he is pro-this party, he is pro-this party, he is pro-advocates, he is pro-this. Why this branding is done? I'm not talking of other kind of branding, I'm talking of bias branding. There are other kinds of branding also which are there, you find in courts. So, why this branding is there? See, everybody carries on his shoulder the burden of his lifestyle. It is very difficult that you shed off this burden and train yourself in a manner that you are really a judge. The difficulty is that judges keep carrying this burden, and this burden is reflected in their judgments. You read judgments of Justice Krishna Iyer. You will find that he, throughout his career as a judge, carried the burden of communism on his shoulder. And his effort was to put communist ideology and philosophy in every judgment. You will find, go to other extreme, you will find capitalist burden, where you will find in judgments that burden of capitalism being there. So, this bias is an inbuilt in every man. And the effort of every judge must be to shed off this burden. And this, you will find, is a rare phenomenon. Maybe there are cases where people give judgments without philosophy. And they are not considered good judges. Why? Because people want to search in the judgment some innovative philosophies. I don't know why. Instead of decisions, you see those judgments. Why Justice Krishna Iyer's judgments are appreciated more? Oh, he wrote so much paragraphs on this philosophy. Such and such judge wrote so much paragraphs elucidating on this philosophy. So when you elucidate philosophies, you are a great judge. If you have no philosophy, you are not a great judge. So many people want to be great judge. And that is, you see, that is why that burden is carried deliberately also. That look, how much deep I know. So, see, that kind of philosophical inclination is there. So this kind of inclination you will find in judges. Then we also suffer from inertia, status quo. And we do not want to change the things because we think the system is good. You talk to anybody that this adversarial system, this system we carried and we inherited from British. There are two kinds of systems in Europe, common law system and civil law system. And we adopted common law system. And in common law system, adversarial system is we consider this as the best. Any effort made by anyone to dilute this and to bring some aspects of civil law system are looked upon as if some sin is being done. If you remember, Malimath Committee report was there. This report was about judicial reforms and in criminal justice system. He wanted to introduce a simple procedure in criminal law that every accused when he pleads not guilty, shall also give his defense. He shall enumerate his defense. What is his defense? He may say, I was not present on the spot. He may say, I had not committed crime because of these reasons, which is my defense. And some kind of written statement was to be given by an accused. This was a suggestion. So the whole bar and the whole bench and the parliament stood up against Malimat, Justice Malimat's report, saying that no, this is not possible, that we should introduce from back door civil law system. How can the accused be presumed guilty? There is no presumption of guilt. You are saying, please say that you give a written statement in response to the charge sheet and explain what is your defense. But this was, you see, turned down, and just the report was criticized day in, day out, despite all seminars. So we do not want to disturb ourselves. And we want to live in an inertia that this system is good. What we are doing is good. If this is good, then why it is not serving the purpose? See, what is the measure of a system being effective? The system is effective, it works effectively. If it delivers, a system which does not deliver, howsoever charming it may look from the philosophy point of view, cannot be considered as a good system. Now, what is the delivery record of our system? The oldest criminal case, to my knowledge, pending in trial court is 35-year-old. Criminal case. And oldest civil case pending in courts is Ayodhya trial, which is more than 60 years. So, a system, a judicial system which cannot decide in the lifetime of a litigant, and the burden of litigation is shifted from father to son, son to grandson. How that system can be good system? And half of the cases in Delhi or all over India, you will find applications before courts for bringing legal heirs on record. A system in which obtaining a decree against person is easier than executing the decree. You may obtain a decree in 3 years, in Delhi courts 3 or 4 years, and if you want to execute this decree, even simple money recovery decree, it will take 5 to 6 years. How can the system be? Now, why the system is bad? Are the laws bad? No, we are bad. We who run the system do not want to feel the pain of the litigant. We work as not judges. In the courts, we work as babus. See, my quota of monthly disposal of cases is this much. I have disposed this much cases. Now I have to close my pen. Now all other cases I will decide next month. This is happening and has been happening. I have seen it being happening. Being a judge myself in trial courts, I used to see. I knew that, you see, judges have used to stop deciding cases after their quota was complete. And for completing quota, they will, you see, search out simple cases. Which are the simplest cases which we want to handle, by which our units will be complete in about 20 days time. So this is their concern. But why judge should be there on the seat? Should be there only for completing units? His quota of units. See, he has to decide case, he has to give justice to the parties which appear before him. This justice he can deliver only when he feels the concern of person who comes to court, taking leave from his office, leaving his family. Some people travel 50 to 100 kilometers. In Delhi, the distance are 30-35 kilometers. But in states, people travel 200 kilometers also to go to district quota. And in, you see, for going to High Court, they travel 500 kilometers. Now think of a person who has traveled 500 kilometers, gone to Allahabad High Court from Ghaziabad, that today my case hearing is there. And in Ghaziabad, outside the court, an advocate is beaten by a police person, or a police person is beaten by an advocate, and advocates go on strike. All cases stand at your. Judges do not have courage to say that, look, whether you are on strike or not, my board will run. I am going to decide my cases. How many judges have courage? Not even one. If this is how we work, this is our concern for the litigant, knowing fully well that in UP and in Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, in Maharashtra, where high courts are far off places and people travel, and in Supreme Court also. It is not that strikes don't take place in Supreme Court. They may be rare, but they do take place. People travel thousands of kilometers for coming to Supreme Court. And the case is adjourned. Why? Because advocate is busy. Think of the litigant who has traveled all the, today my case will be heard. And the other side advocate, not his advocate, is able to take a job. It is not that people of this country do not have faith in Constitution. I was hearing this conference is to restore faith in the Constitution. They don't have faith in the manner in which Constitution is read and implemented. Nowadays, this strange fight is going on. Supreme Court says, I am supreme. I don't believe in Constitution. If Constitution says that appointment of judges will be done by the executive, only our advice will be taken. Supreme Court says, sorry, this is not what Constitution says. Constitution says our advice is binding on you. And since we are the masters, we know how to interpret the Constitution. Nobody else knows how to read the Constitution. So whatever we say is the law. And now in that, you see the appointment of judges is again in the doldrum. See, NJAC was one of the recent phenomena. Even prior to NJAC, 33% of the vacancies all of High Court and Supreme Court judges has always been lying vacant. Not because of NJC, but because the Supreme Court and High Court judges could never, among themselves, come to consensus as to who should be made the judge. And then executive also had its own role. They also wanted a fair share of the vacancies to appoint their men. So it is your man, my man, his man who used to occupy the position in High Courts and Supreme Court. This is what is happening now also. So who is interested in judicial reforms? Advocates are not interested. The moment you bring judicial reforms and to an extent that cases will be decided in 6 months or 1 year cases, you will be taken away. Most of the, you see, at least the fees per case will be reduced to 25%. So they oppose. They don't bother. So their opposition is subtle. They are not keen. Judges are not keen because it is not their cup of tea whether, you see, people cry or don't cry. They are there only to save their jobs. Parliamentarians, you see, they have crocodile tears. If they had been serious, nothing is impossible on this. They could have said, High Court, Supreme Court, you can take care of. You see, but trial court judiciary is administered. We give funds. We give everything for trial court judiciary, and administratively, trial court judiciary is under governor. So we will ensure that in trial court, the judges, right kind of judges are appointed. By right kind of competition exam takes place, right kind of training is given so that they follow law and decide cases quickly. But then they are, you see, many of them face trials. Why will they like that the trial court judges should decide their cases earlier? Half of your legislatures are, you see, those who have cases against them. 1/3, at least 1/3 are there. So you see, then who is common man? Common man has no say in this country. From the very beginning. So judicial reform is a very distant dream. For this, a kind of agitation is needed. The agitation which either Jayaprakash Narayan did at that time or Mahatma Gandhi did. Litigants who are 3 crore, more than 3 crore in this country. If 3 crore cases are pending, 3.5 crore cases are pending, then 3 crore litigants are there. Families are affected. These 3 crore people must, if they want judicial reform, they will have to start an agitation. Forcing these, you see, persons who are running this system to come to terms with reforms. Otherwise, no reforms can take place. And you cannot delay this. Not even 25%. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Dhingra. That was truly our honor to have you here and you enlightening us on all the law reforms that could be made in India. Well, everybody come on, a huge round of applause for Justice Dhingra here. Everybody.